Hello, future millionaires, and welcome to our next and very exciting talking point. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we've been watching some shocking things unfold in Europe between Russia and Ukraine, which has obviously caused a knock-on effect across the globe in all of the markets. And one of the things I've heard people say quite a lot of the time is it's happening so far away and it won't have any effect on me personally, which is actually not the case at all. In fact, the war goes so far as affecting everybody and the food you put on your table. Now, just to give you an example of that, more than 25% of the world's wheat is produced and exported from Russia and the Ukraine. Now, with the disruption caused by the war, this obviously means that demand is going to be far higher than the supply, which will then push up the prices, of course. Now, Russia is also the third largest oil producer globally, and that means that the price of crude oil will begin to soar, which in turn means higher fuel prices. Now, besides the cost of something like bread now increasing, so too will the cost of transporting it. And these are the factors that all combined will mean that we will have to start looking carefully at how we live our lives, because this is going to affect all ordinary South Africans and everyone across the globe for that matter. Now, this, of course, raised the question of what do savvy investors do and how do they ensure that they are not only protecting themselves and their family, but also their investments and their assets, and even whether it's happening somewhere close to home or somewhere far away. Now, to talk a little bit more on this point, we are very excited to have the founder of the Wealth Masters Club with us, Mr. Coert Coetzee. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Coert.
My pleasure, Damien. Thank you very much.
But now, obviously, you've seen the effects of the war infiltrating into the daily lives. What are the main things that you think will be affecting South Africans at the moment?
I see it can lead to a lot of problems in a sense, and I'm talking about personal financial problems. Because if the food prices go up because of the fact that the fuel price is going up, then it might lead to many other problems also. It is not just food that will be affected. Everything will be affected in our daily lives. So we cannot actually say for sure what it will be. We will just have to see what is going to happen. I mean, especially when a war is so far away, we might not even take it serious up to a certain point until you start feeling it. And then it might be too late. So the message that I'm getting out of this is the fact that you have to be prepared for any kind of circumstances. It's impossible to be prepared for each and every possible thing that might happen. But I think we must try to cover as many as possible. And that is what I'm picking up out of this, especially when I see that people are not prepared. And I'm talking about the people in Ukraine at this moment, who are actually the ones who are directly affected now by it. As I wrote in the Times newsletter last week, millions of people, or more than 1 million already, left Ukraine with actually nothing but their clothes on their backs. That's all. And what will your situation be if you are in a situation like that? I mean, what we see there is not just the effect of the war between Russia and Ukraine. It should make us think, what if something like that, something happens to us closer to home? Yeah, that's my take on it in a moment.
Now, Coert, over the last few decades, you've always been quite a strong advocate against or for using property as an investment. So do you foresee any negative impact of the war in this specific sector?
No, not for us. No, I don't think so. This is the one thing that I don't think will go up in price because of the war. In the indirect effect, I think, will be too slow. Personally, I don't think that war will carry on for long. I think Russia is just pushing for a negotiation somewhere, just showing how strong they are. But property prices, I don't think, will be affected by it in South Africa. I don't think so. Market might be affected. I saw yesterday, or was it this morning? I think it was this morning, that Naspers lost billions on the stock exchange. And that, I think, you can link directly to what is happening in Europe at the moment, because it is connected to that big investment in China and so on, and the possibility that China might enter this war is scary for investors, things like that. But that's a nice thing about property. We are not on international exchanges with our houses and so on. Oh, it'll affect, obviously, eventually, if it goes all the way, and if it is as bad as we think it might might become with the food prices going up, cost of living going up, is that our tenants might not be in a position to pay our rent. But that's temporary. And I think that is where we will have to just help our tenants wherever we can. But the property itself, safe. We will always have an income.
Now, Coert, if we look at the battle in Europe and also the recent looting that took place in KZN, it's obviously highlighted how quickly the political climate can change in our country. So now every day we see visuals of, like you said, millions of people currently being displaced and trying to cross the borders to protect themselves and their family. Now, as someone who's been watching the markets quite closely over a number of years, what advice would you give to people in South Africa who want to make sure that should anything like this happen closer to the home, how can they make sure that they are protected along with their assets and their finances?
You see, you must have a plan B, as we always call it. It's a cliche, this plan B thing. We always talk about the plan B, and it differs from person to person. And most people talking about the plan B does not even have a plan B. So for me, a plan B is just to make sure that you have access to money, to cash, in any country in the world, or in another country, outside of your own country. Let me now put it that way. Because what we also saw now happening in Ukraine is that the bank accounts are frozen in certain circumstances. They even attach the assets of rich Ukrainians in England and in France. So yes, cash flow might become a problem. So make sure that you have something completely independent from your South African or whatever country you live in, from your country's bank system. That is something that I can recommend. Like, as you know, Damien, we do the Mauritian trusts and Mauritian bank accounts. That is perhaps the best place to start with for South Africans. Make sure you have some money abroad, even if you don't want to be there. You actually don't have a choice, even if it is just a small amount, like say, for example, even if it is just 100,000 or 10,000, all depends on what your circumstances are, but have some money in a place other than in your country. That is my recommendation. And I think with the trust in Mauritius, it will be the easiest way to do it.
Now, quickly speaking about Mauritius, about a year ago, the Wealth Masters Club introduced a partnership with a Mauritian partner. So how would someone from South Africa go about creating a trust in Mauritius? Is it very complicated? Do you actually have to physically be in Mauritius, or is it all done through our local suppliers?
As a matter of fact, it's a lot less complicated than opening a trust in South Africa, for example, and it's a lot quicker. The beauty is, in our agreement with our partners in Mauritius, we were able to negotiate a price which is actually a fraction of what a normal offshore trust costs. A normal offshore trust is like about 40,000 Rand for a trust. And now we negotiated a price of about 12,000 Rand for a trust. I think it is absolutely the lowest, best price offshore trust at the moment that any South African can get, or any person in the world can get it. But you will not get an offshore trust at this price anywhere else. And the process, you don't have to be in Mauritius. You just speak to your local service providers, our Wealth Masters Club service providers. They help you to set up the trust. It's a Destinata group that we use for our trust services, treasury trust services. So they will do it. They can even do it on a Zoom meeting with you. Get all the information, have the trust registered in Mauritius, which can be done within a few days, opposed to South Africa, where it can take a lot longer, because in South Africa, a trust is registered with the master of the court. In Mauritius, it is just registered with a registered trust company in Mauritius. So it's a private company that has the right from the Mauritian government to set up trust for people.
Fantastic. Now, Coert, the final question, and this may be a little bit controversial, but I know you're never shy for the controversial questions. Now, in all of the years and all the talks you've done across the globe, you always advocate for South Africans to pay less tax wherever possible and wherever it's legally possible. Now, these are generally the funds that also are used to fund the public services such as the police, the army, etc. Now, are you not, as a South African citizen, concerned that we may be weakening the country's defenses by creating investment structures that limit how much tax is paid to the country?
No, Damien, I don't see this unpatriotic. You see, we all pay tax in some form, like, for example, value-added tax. When you buy something from the shop, you're paying tax on it. And that is not something that you can avoid. But our government, like most governments across the world, allowed tax breaks and legal ways to avoid paying unnecessary tax, especially for wealthier people that can use it. If you're a salary earner, then it is not possible. You have to pay your pay-as-you-earn tax. But if you are a business person, then there are so many ways for us to avoid tax. Now, the whole idea why government allow us to avoid paying the taxes is because they expect us to reinvest that money that would have been taxes back into the economy to create more jobs, create more income for more people, and so on. And those people that we created jobs for, they will pay the taxes again, the pay as you earn. So government is getting their money back. I'm not avoiding tax because I want to move my money somewhere else. I invest in the South African economy. I think all people that I believe in the South African economy. I believe it will recover. I believe there will be huge buying opportunities, investment opportunities in the future. So many people are immigrating. That is their plan B, is to go and live in another country. Now, that is something that I will not do. I might immigrate some of my money, but not even all of my money, because there are so many opportunities in South Africa. Because we have so many problems. Therefore, this is a country that is dependent on people with solutions for the many problems. And I'm one of those people that try to provide the solutions. So in terms of patriotism, that is my patriotism to the country. I try to solve some problems that the government cannot solve. We can criticize the government now. That'll take a whole day, because that's a long list of criticism that we can add here. But I must also add that our government is not the only useless government in the world. There are others also. So let us, the citizens, make a difference. And by avoiding paying tax, legal ways of avoiding paying tax, government ways, government allow us to do it. Like a simple thing, I can just mention this, since we mentioned property. So few people are aware of the fact that government allows us to claim back from SARS 55% of the cost on a new house or a new townhouse. Very few people know this. And if you're a developer, if you build that house yourself, you can claim back 100% of the cost. No, other people, okay, this is not actually avoiding tax, but it is getting the money back from the tax man, from SARS. So it is even better. And they expect us to do this. And why are they allowing us to claim back the cost on a new house? Like, for example, as an investor, you can claim back 55%. It's because they expect that we will build more houses with the money that we claim back. And that is exactly what we do at the Wealth Masters Club. So yes, we help government to solve the lack of housing, the housing problem in South Africa, by investing more in property, reinvesting the money in another house, and so on. No, there are so many ways that we can help government and help our economy without helping corrupt ministers stealing the taxes.
But it is so true what you say, and it's always refreshing to hear a sort of a different perspective, because I think we're all taught in a certain way that you do this, you pay your tax, you live your life, but like you say, there's ways and means around everything, and living in a country with so many problems means there's so many solutions. So Coert, thank you so much for the time today. It's always a pleasure getting to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Damien. Thank you for all the people who are listening. I hope everything will be good, and I hope the war in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, will be over soon, because the world don't want something like this now. Thank you. Cheers.
Exactly. And now if you're watching from home and like to get a little bit more information about the Wealth Masters Club, what they do and how they do it, then visit the website. The link is in the description below. And you can register for a free training taking place this weekend, which is streaming from Saturday morning until midnight on Tuesday. And there, Coert will go into a lot more detail about how you too can protect yourself, your family, and your assets. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share this with your friends and family. And until next week, bye-bye.